Gents. I'm James Edwards, coming out of Brockport, New York.
Jayme DeVault, coming out of Nashville, Tennessee.
And Porcia Jones, coming out of North Chi-Lite, New York.
All right, so break away from politics and conspiracy theories and all that other good shit we talk about all the time for a minute, and talk about cringy fucking weird dudes. Had a post on Facebook a couple weeks ago. I wanted to do a little bit for the episode, and it turned into like 90 comments and like 50 fucking messages from all these women with all these crazy, weird stories about. Some of them made me cringe, so I figured I'll just do a whole episode on it. Maybe some of these dudes will see it. I guarantee there's gonna be dudes that see it that they're like, "Oh shit, that was me. Maybe I should like not be a fucking weirdo anymore." So right off the bat, like the first message I got, this chick messages me. She sent me a bunch of screenshots, and she's this guy messages her and immediately offers to lick her boots. He wants to lick her boots clean.
Like her shoes, not her feet, right?
No, like her shoes, not her feet. It's not a weird foot fetish type thing. Like that, I guess I can
understand the foot fetish, but that's kind of.
Well, he starts offering to lick her boots, and she said, "Well, I literally stand in shit all day long." And he's a literal shit. She sends him a picture of her boots standing in cow shit. She's a farmer. This guy still doesn't. He just doesn't care. He's like, "Well, it'd be a little bit of a challenge, but I still want to try it."
A little bit of a challenge, bro.
Challenges.
How you come off with something like that, right? Like, how do you come off with, "I want to lick your boots"? Like, Portia, does that bring you in? Does that entice you at all?
Not at all.
Right, you could get past a foot fetish, right? You could get past somebody who said, "I want to lick your feet." Okay, sure, you can lick my feet, all that, but you want to lick my dirty-ass boots? This ain't even about sex anymore. This is about self-degradation. Like,
well, that's what he goes on to say. Is he's like, "I don't even understand it myself. It's a degradation thing. Degrade me." He offered to buy her boots.
Dude,
she told him no.
What's the point in licking brand new boots? If you got a fetish, you better lick some nasty ass Commodore boots.
He wanted to buy her used boots.
Dude,
like he wanted to buy the boots she was wearing.
I cannot get behind that.
I don't know.
Portia, how do you feel? Like, well, explain to me how you would feel if somebody had messaged you that.
If somebody would have messaged me that, it would have resulted in like an immediate block. I don't think that there would have even been a conversation past that point, because that is really fucking weird.
No, I gotta ask her why.
Why is it weird?
Why?
That's a legitimate question.
I would wonder that for the rest of my life. Like, why did this motherfucker want my boots?
Right. And it's like derogatory. It's like, okay, like you don't sound like you have very much self-respect. So
answer me this. Would it be more sexy, right, if a man offered to clean your boots or lick them?
Clean them.
Right. So maybe he could have gone about it a much better way. But that's cringy, right?
I don't think it was anything with her. Honestly, I think it was just with him wanting to lick boots. I don't know. I've never eaten shit before, but I can't imagine it.
I can't come to terms with something like that. Like, I cannot, in my mind, come to terms with the licking of boots being a sexual kind of thing. It just doesn't add up. Right? That's not about sex.
Yeah. It's not sexy to me at all.
It's not sexy.
But you know what? If he's into that, obviously people have probably let him do that before.
Well, I mean, does that say more about the people licking the boots or the people who allowed their boots to be licked?
I'd say safe. On both parts. It's like, what that you wanted dirty boots?
He offered to pay for the boots, which tells me that he's offered money for this sort of thing before.
You know, I'm gonna tell you this. Me and my baby mother, we broke up for a spout, and she went on this dating website called Plenty of Fish.
Right.
She told me all the stories when she got back, you know, when she came back to me and all that. And one of the stories she can't get out of her head is a guy, an Indian guy. I don't mean to bring up race or whatever, but an Indian guy messaged her, offered her $1,500 just to have sex with him.
Okay.
Now, I understand, you know, I respect the sex game. I respect prostitutes. I'm a rare person on the right side who believes that, you know, sex work is a good thing. But at some point, you've got to draw the line, correct? Like, if you're just an everyday woman who gets propositioned with this, I mean, if you take it or don't take it, does that make you as cringy or as weird as the person who sent the message to begin with?
What makes you cringy is eating shit, dude.
Right. That is a little weird. But I guess what I'm trying to ask is, like, how does, like, a cringy dude is a cringy dude. He's not going to not be cringy no matter how hard he tries. So how does a cringy guy come at you with his bootlicking fantasy to make it sexy? You can't. You could offer a chick $1,500 as, you know, my baby mama was offered.
They're not trying. It's not about the female. It's about them. Let me tell you another story. So I had another chick message me, and she tells me a story. Long story short, pretty sure her and her friend her friend and this other guy were fucking in the house. So he had his friend there, and they went out to the car to go smoke. Well, those two were fucking, right? Typical fucking teenage shit. So they're rolling a blunt in the fucking car, and I gotta stop saying fuck so much, but they're rolling a blunt in the car, and he pulls a pair of scissors out of his glove box and just snips some of her hair off and throws it right back in the glove box. And she's just like, why do you do that? He's like, well, I thought it would be cute to have some of your hair. That was his response.
Now hold on. In which dimension is that cute? Okay, you being here, you can help us. Tell me, in which dimension would that be cute? Like, in what scenario? Like, what possible circumstance would that be cute in?
Zero.
Exactly. Like, how could a person? Exactly. Like, it's just weird. It just boils down to weird. Like, I understand not being good with women. That's one thing, right? If you're not smooth, if you're not, you know, whatever. But this dude, these dudes out there talking about the cringiest, creepiest things, how do they justify it in their minds when they type it out and send it? Like, there has to be women that respond to it. There has to be, or else it would have stopped.
I was going to say is they've obviously, even if it's just one person who's responded to them, they've had some type of success doing this. And that is why they keep bringing it up over and over and over again. So somewhere down the line, somebody made them feel like this is socially acceptable. This isn't weird. I'm not creeped out by you. And they're like, cool, if this girl likes it, like, well,
do you know girls that, like, let dudes fucking lick their boots and have pieces of their hair and shit? Or like,
no, but I think know girls have gotten paid to kick guys in the nuts with, like, high heels on.
I've heard about
like,
that.
Yes. And, like, all they do is show up with a pair of, like, high boots on or high heels, whatever. And the guy just says, kick me as hard as you can. Like, I want to fall to the ground. I want to even throw up because you're going to kick me that hard.
Okay.
And, like,
all right, I got a personal story. I got a personal story for that. So,
okay.
I don't fucking get that at all. Like, I get the pain thing. Like, I love going to get fucking ink. You know, I'm covered in ink. I like going to get ink. I like the pain. But there was one time I was fucking this chick, and she's on top of me, and I was all fucking shit faced. I went to fucking reach back and smack her ass, and fucking just the tips of my fingers got myself right in the fucking nuts, dude. It was done. It was over. There was let alone kicking him in the balls. I just got myself with the tips of my fingers, man. What the fuck?
It doesn't make sense. Like, you boil it down to that. Like, sure, pain is pleasure, but when you're talking about it kicking a man in the fucking nuts, that's a whole different level of pain. That's not enjoyable. Look, I've been kicked in the nuts many times. It's never been fun. Not once have I enjoyed it.
And they get paid for this too.
You know,
Like,
but like what I was saying earlier, I respect that. You get paid, you do your job, you go home, perfectly fine.
Baby, hang on. Simmer down, buddy.
Okay, all right.
How much do they get paid for this?
I
got to imagine it's a lot.
I want to say she got $200.
$200?
It's a quick meeting, boom, kicking the balls, done. Like, nothing more, nothing less.
You got to imagine it's rich people doing
the balls for $50 right now. You know what the fuck?
But you got to imagine it's rich guys doing this shit. You got to imagine, right? It's not some poor Joe Schmo like you or me, plumber, you know, mason, whatever. We're not the ones out there asking for this shit. It's got to be the executives. It's got to be the people making the good money, right?
I don't know. I've never had a problem with women.
I'm not a person. I'm a photographer. So when I first started doing this in 2015, it's been about 5 years now, I was just open to photographing anything, right? So I had this ad up on Craigslist.
Oh, boy.
And I was like, very creative, very minded, blah, blah, blah. You know, respond to this ad if you're interested in working with me, right? So this guy emailed me, and he wanted me to photograph him, like, jacking off and, like, pleasuring himself, right? And he was like, I'll give you $400 for an hour. And, like, you don't have to do anything. You don't even have to necessarily say anything. Like, I just want my pictures done while I am getting off. And I was like, oh, I mean, if you're not touching me, fine. So I go to this guy's house, and it wasn't in like a really impoverished area, but it wasn't exactly rich either. So I don't necessarily know if it's just people who have like all this money who are into it. But then again, this guy had $400 to pay me too. And it went from him just like jerking off in his living room, and then he put like this black like pleather mask on in his bedroom and had like a collar and wanted me to like hold the leash to where I wasn't in the picture, but it made it look like somebody was holding him, and like he was just going to town. And then like all these other really weird things started happening. Like he had like anal plugs everywhere, and like he stuck one in his chest, and he's like just like laying on his bed and like going at it. He's like, "Are you getting all this?" And I was like, yeah, keep going, you're doing great.
You're doing great.
It's $400 for an hour, whatever. Do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Right. You make money, you know?
I don't know, man.
And like pinning them like all around his balls, and then took like one of those I don't know, it looks like a ponytail holder, like what's it called, like a cock ring or something like that.
Yeah,
like,
those are actually pretty awesome.
No,
and he had
fashioned about all that.
those clothing pins pinned around his balls, and he's just like going to town. And you know, the weird thing about it was like he never made any advances at me. He never tried to touch me. He never asked me to join. Like nothing. It was just like strictly take my photos, give them all back to me, and like here's your money.
Well, I mean, maybe
that's America,
maybe
right?
He has a female photographer because he's just fucking Maybe he has a female photographer because he's not interested in women. That's what I'm thinking. I mean,
Okay, he could be gay. He could be gay. That's true.
Yeah.
Or he could just have a kink. Maybe he just likes watching women pleasure himself. I mean, that couldn't be much different from men who like to watch their wives get fucked, of whom which one that I know. I know a man personally who likes to watch his wife get fucked by other men.
Okay.
It's something that he likes, and he talks openly. I'm not going to use any names, but he talks very openly about how he pays, and not to get racist or racial or anything, but he pays specifically black men to fuck his wife.
Okay.
Just so he can watch. He enjoys that. Now, is that creepy? Right? Because obviously the woman is into it. So bring it into the story you just told, right? Where does it cross the line to being creepy? Like, there's nothing wrong, in my opinion, I may be in the minority, of a man asking a woman, a professional photographer, to photograph him doing something he enjoys. Maybe he wants to see them. This is a free country. He can look at whatever he wants. He can do whatever he wants. You can start a business and photograph whatever he wants. Right? So is that creepy, or is it just a kink? Because you should not be ashamed of your kinks.
Right. And for him, like, he was the nicest guy. Like, really, really nice, really respectable. But I was going into it thinking that, you know, he was just going to do like this quick, like, you know, like, I'm going to jack off real quick, and then you're going to get done. And then, like, it turned into like all these different things. Like, at one point, he was on his bed and, you know, getting into it. Like, he's like bent over and like just going to town. And like, he wanted me to like talk. And like me on film, but just being like final round or like something like that. And I was just kind of like,
he wanted you to narrate. He wanted you to be the narrator.
Yeah. So, you know, like, I'm already in this guy's house, you know, I'm like, I've already started taking pictures. I mean, I guess, like, he doesn't seem threatening. It doesn't seem like he's going to harm me in any way. But I was very surprised because it went from like this, like, it was supposed to be a very short meeting to this drawn out, watching this guy like play out like his fantasies like in front of me. So I did wonder, maybe he just does have a kink of, you know, a woman doing that for him. I don't know.
There's a shock value there for sure.
Yeah, I think
it definitely has a shock value.
Yeah. And like, I'm really nice. It's like,
but that's my point. Like, where does it cross the line from cringy to just a kink? Because, you know, I'm a firm believer in that you shouldn't be ashamed of your kinks. You know, if you like what you like, as long as it's not hurting somebody else, I don't see the problem with it.
Well, what you were talking about before is being a cock, and that's technically a kink. So, I mean, I think it's a matter of like, shit is there. You know what's creepy, dude? Cutting some chick's hair off, like unwanted advances, creepy.
There's obvious.
There's a girl the other day. Actually, I'm gonna fucking post the meme that I made of this guy in here because I told him I was gonna make him famous for being a fucking douchebag. So
those are the best.
That's gonna be in here at some point, probably in the intermission, like I did last time. I'm just gonna start filling them with my own fucking memes because I make memes. So,
you're the best at it, bro. Those memes have you rolling, man.
This chick had this post, and it was just a shared post. It was like, said something about that morning dick is the best dick because it's fucking rock hard, like the brick that the house is built out of. So this one dude comments on there, and he was like, oh yeah, come get your dick, your medicine, blah, blah, blah. Really fucking creepy shit. Like, why are you even saying that shit? Like, it's obviously, like, we're shit posters, dude. It's a funny fucking shit post. We fucking post
there's a consensus here.
Shit posters, post fucking slutty shit all the time on fucking purpose. It doesn't mean we're out fucking everyone or just want all these fucking unwanted advances. I get cringy girls that fucking come at me all the time. It's weird, man. I know I make you laugh. Stay the fuck away from me. But so then this other guy comments and said something about how fucking hard his dick is. There was a girl that commented and said that, you know, how cringy the comments were. So I commented on that. It was like,
so wait, the original
I said,
how hard his dick was?
Yeah, I commented on that and said, well, I got a screenshot of this now, so I hope you like being famous. And me and
but what was his point?
Talking back and forth. Just to be a weirdo. I don't know what his fucking point was. Like, why say how? Maybe he thought that it was hard.
Shit, mine is too. Like, what are we talking
about? But that's what they're supposed to do. Last I checked. Yeah,
But-
he fucking. So he, me and her are going back and forth because I was like, I'm screenshotting this fucking. She already said I could screenshot whatever and post it on the fucking show. So. He starts reading all this and he comments to apologize. I'm like, now you're even fucking weirder, bro. Like,
now you've acknowledged the weirdness and tried to make up for it.
He's one of those dudes that like has something else that's not him for his profile. So I was like, I was like, you know, if your profile picture is something other than you, 9 out of 10 times you're fucking weird.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Or you have extreme personality issues that you need to get checked.
I mean, maybe
if you're trying to be somebody else online,
then promoting your own shit,
life,
maybe. But that's if you're promoting like your own business or something like that, I could understand. But if you got like,
that's different.
Or if it's just a shit posting page for the fucking pussies that can't shit post on their main page because they're afraid of what everybody sees. Fucking, it was just a shit posting page. I don't even care, dude. I'm gonna call them out. I shit post right on my main page. My great grandmother lives in the Bible Belt, dude.
I currently live in the Bible Belt.
She lives in the Bible Belt, Missouri, and you see the shit I post, man. I don't care, dude. I post whatever I want. I say whatever.
I will say this though about the Bible Belt. I live in Tennessee, which is Nashville too, which is the Bible Belt, and you have these people who are like, yeah, I'm a Christian, and then turn around and do these very unchristian things.
Heinous sex acts.
Sex acts. That's a great way, because that's what it was. Everybody here is a Christian until you're at Kid Rock's bar at 3 a.m. and there's nobody left.
There's that kid from Holly. I'm not going to mention his name. There's that kid from fucking Holly. He was like I don't know. He's very involved with the church. He's like 34, 35 years old. Nobody really knows how old this dude is, but he fucking... He's waiting to get laid till marriage, and so he's a 35-year-old virgin, whatever. But he gets arrested for messaging underage girls, like, oh, like, do you look good in, like, would you look good in thongs, and like, you're not.
So wait, what
cool.
was he asking for?
I probably wanted to see them in thongs. I don't know. They're sex deprived, dude. You can't live like that.
Well, that's the reason the Catholic Church allowed priests to get married, because they were raping little boys because they couldn't fucking go out and get women.
Yeah,
I mean, think about it. No, I'm not defending that, but what I am saying is that these guys are sitting there, they commit their lives to the church, they have nothing for them. You know, they're praying all the time, they're whatever. I'm a Christian too, but at some point you've got to draw the line between Christianity and real life. And real life says Christianity says you can't go after marriage for a little while, or Catholicism.
I gotta stop you, Jayme, because I'm treating this like a happy Tuesday, and a happy Tuesday is no religion, no politics, no bullshit, no talking about your fucking exes or your love life
just
nonsense.
To make it funny.
Just having fucking fun, man. We're just having fun.
And politics and Christian religion and all that are bad, but it ties right into what we were just saying. But
so I did want to. Well, yeah. I mean, if you look at the whole Epstein thing, power definitely comes into it with all those actors and actors like Kevin Spacey. He gets sex crime after sex crime after sex crime. You know.
And yet he never gets convicted because somehow all of these people end up committing suicide or being murdered mysteriously.
I'm pretty sure Spacey's been convicted.
No, he hasn't been convicted. He's only been charged. Twice that man got off of charges. And I could be wrong about this. I will admit that.
They canceled House of Cards because of this last one.
Yeah, but give me a break. Netflix put a movie up called Cuties on their website, on their streaming platform. You think they're really that worried about Kevin Spacey?
That was to fight the pedophilia, bro.
No, it wasn't.
Fight the pedophilia
Don't
with
give
more
me that
pedophilia.
shit.
Obviously, that's how it works.
How do you fight pedophilia with pedophilia?
Like fighting fire with fire. Duh, dude.
Like,
Pretty
okay.
obvious.
Okay, let's bring Portia on in it. How do you feel about that? Like, where does it draw the line? Tell me.
Okay.
How do you feel about Netflix and all of that?
This Cuties documentary in particular, at first it had me irate because I have 2 little girls, and I'm a victim of sexual exploitation as a child. So I'm like, how are you going to exploit children? Like, their parents had to have signed off on this and like been okay with it. These girls are obviously under 18. Somebody somewhere had to say it's okay for you to film my daughter. I've seen those girls humping before, like teaching each other how to twerk and whatnot. And I'm not saying that stuff doesn't happen on a daily basis. I just don't understand why there was this notion it's a very red button topic for a lot of people, especially parents. And I get
All 3 of us are.
that it was bizarre to me, and I get that the woman who wrote the movie meant well, like her intentions were good. It's just that I think the way that executed could have been a lot.
That was her explanation. She was going to fight pedophilia with pedophilia.
But how does that make sense? Like, with your explanation, Portia, I would just ask, how does it make it okay? Yes, it happens. Yes, there are young girls out there experimenting with this stuff. Obviously, that's a fact. To put it into a cinematic feature, to put it on film, is it not child? Like, I watched 45 minutes. I canceled my Netflix and I watched 45 minutes of that Cuties. I gave them a chance. I saw, and I'm ashamed of this, I watched what was portrayed to be a 14-year-old girl. I don't know if it actually was, but a 14-year-old girl in a wet white t-shirt dancing around in panties. No situation is that okay.
No.
Right?
No. And so for me, I'm thinking about maybe these girls were of age and like they just look a lot younger than they are. Who knows? But then I'm thinking of the people filming this too. Despite how old they are, it's like they're still portraying children here.
Yeah, do you know how many people are involved in filming something like that?
Right. And I'm like,
they all have to be okay with
that's
that?
the old Death Star argument. You know, all the independent contractors that must have been on the Death Star when it got blown up, right? But if I am an independent contractor and all I do is...
They built the fucking thing, so they're partially responsible.
Exactly.
And these people helped build this film, so they're partially responsible as well. I couldn't sit by and watch that get filmed. Like, if I was working on the set, I'd be like, this is fucking disgusting. What the fuck are you doing?
This is horrible, right? Like, how do you sit through that? I just don't get it. Like, I get that young girls are going to be sexually active. That's a biological fact. Okay, women reach puberty before men. That's a fact. Okay, and they become more sexual before men. But in no circumstance, in no reasoning, is it okay to release a film like that.
I agree.
And that is cringy. That goes back to everything we've been talking about this whole show with the cringy dudes.
It's definitely cringy. I mean, maybe that's partially why they act like that. Maybe they maybe they had shit happen to them, you know?
So what, they broadcast their paid for everybody to see?
No,
There's
maybe it's ways. Like, so to put it this way, I'm just gonna fucking say it because I say whatever I want. So, A lot of
your
I've,
whole life?
I've been,
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I just say I say whatever the fuck I want. I don't give a fuck. I've been with a lot of fucking women over the years, and a lot of these women that have, you know, divulged to me that they had been, you know, molested or something like that. They're all very hyper sexual women. You know, they're very hypersexual, even for that happening. So saying that. So what if that's the case with these men? You know what I mean?
You're saying, just so I understand, that what if these men were in a similar situation as these women were?
Oh yeah, little boys get molested. Men get raped. You know.
I mean, psychologically, the human brain is not fully developed to the age of 25. So if you think about it, if these kids are exposed to sexuality at a very young age while their brain's still developing, it's going to be embedded in it. So you may have, you know, women or men who have been sexually molested that may be very hypersexual because while their brain was developing, it was embedded in there. And perhaps it wasn't supposed to be there.
Well,
and sad to think that people, adults especially, do this to children who are still developing and learning, and they're not learning in safe and productive ways, obviously.
So
it's on. Hang on, yeah, Jamie.
Go ahead.
I got something for. Well, I'm just gonna bring up a whole new point. So if you want to
just one final thought on what Portia just said, and one final question: do you think that justifies it? Do you think that if somebody was in that situation and then puts it in film, does that make the film okay? Obviously, the act was wrong to begin with.
Right. No. I think that ultimately, majority, if not most, humans are born with some type of moral compass. Okay. So regardless if something horrible has happened to you, you know that it's wrong. You don't feel right about it. It doesn't sit well with you. So I would say, just as human beings in general, most, if not all of us, have that sense of what's right and what's wrong embedded, regardless of, you know, any type of trauma, any type of abuse, what have you. So to continue with that and to make a film as very graphic as that was, like, I couldn't even stand watching the trailers of that because I'm just like, ew, gross. Like, I get it. I can understand where it comes from. However, I don't see how it's helping these children that are being exploited. I don't get it.
That was my point. And so we agree on that.
So to go beyond a sexual level, I think a lot of it has to do with an emotional. I think it's an emotional thing too. Zach, you got that screenshot? Those screenshots I asked you for, buddy? No, I'm gonna read you something here real quick. This screenshot says, "Woke up and first thing I thought was I want to kiss every inch of your skin. Block me." And then it says, "If you don't block me after the statement, we are dating. I want to put my dick inside and pull it out nonstop. Like we go hiking, we quick fuck, we go shopping, we quick fuck, we do anything. Just wants to bend her over the car, blah, blah, blah." And it keeps getting crazier and crazier. If I look at your pic, instantly get turned on. Then he goes, "Talk to you later. Have a good day." That part kind of was like,
talk to you later. Like, somehow that warrants a response.
And then
how do you respond?
He keeps going, and he starts calling her crazy. And he like saying like how like he's a glutton for punishment, and he doesn't want to. You know, he has a thing for things he can't have. And this chick never once messaged him back. She never messaged him to begin with at all. It's never a hi, never a wait. And these are just message after message after message after message. And some of them are like fucking paragraphs, dude. Like, what? Are you that lonely? Yeah, what are they just? Are these dudes just that lonely that they're gonna sit there and write paragraph after paragraph after paragraph? Like if I get lonely or bored, like I listen to music, man. I'll sit and write music. I'll write short stories or just whatever.
Which I'd like to say
I'll
he's
just write
very
whatever I want to
talented
write.
at.
But I'm not gonna fucking write women paragraph after paragraph after paragraph with no response.
Yeah.
No response for days or months. I've heard of this go on.
Like, you know,
Months.
You sound mentally stable because that's the example of a mentally stable person that like I'm not going to sit here and like write these paragraphs to women who perhaps I've never even met, I'm never going to meet. And I do think it stems from loneliness, a lot of it. Just, you know, it's like I don't understand.
So, Portia, when you say it stems from loneliness, do you mean loneliness as if without a significant other of a certain sexual gender, or do you mean lonely as in no friends in general?
I think the first thing you said, lonely as in not being romantically involved with anybody, whether it just be sexual or dating.
People are meant to fuck, dude.
I've dealt with most men in my life, like even if I'm polite to them, like they'll ask me if I'm an American. They'll be like, "Are you from America?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I was born here." Yes, because they find it so bizarre that like if somebody says hi to me, I say hi back, or they're like, "Hey, how's it going?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's good. How are you doing?" Because a lot of women tend to stray from men, even if it's just a good morning, because they just feel like if I'm polite to this person that especially I don't know, they might take it the wrong way and take it like I'm interested in them versus just being a mature adult and just having some basic rapport with
So
anybody.
you're saying they confuse general courtesy
right
to flirt.
More
Exactly.
and more women just give guys the cold shoulder. I see it like as years go on, unfortunately, as they do.
They don't stop.
Yeah, it really sucks.
I remember you when you were 14 years old. Trust me, brother, they don't stop.
So, yeah, they just get more and more likely to just give you the cold shoulder. And I'm not a fucking creepy looking dude by any means, or I don't conduct myself in that way anyway. And I've gotten cold shouldered. Like I was just being friendly. That's all. But like going back to it, I got a perfect example. Like if you go to the zoo and you go to the fucking monkey cages, what are they doing? They're fucking. You know what I mean? Everything is meant to have sex. Every mammal fucks. You know, most of them fucking procreate, but there's the most intelligent of the mammals have sex for pleasure.
All right, James, I'm going to stop you for 1 second. For some reason on my end, I'm getting a lot of echo. I can't really hear what you're saying.
Is that better?
Much better. Thank you.
Yep, Zach had his mic on.
Okay, continue, and I apologize. I couldn't hear what you just said. There was a lot of echo.
Okay, so what I was saying is if you go to the zoo, you go to the monkey cages, they're fucking, right? You know, most mammals fuck.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. The most intelligent of mammals have sex for pleasure. I feel like they need to. It's like a stress thing. It's like doing drugs, right? But doing drugs always have a negative consequence. An orgasm, unless you got a bad ticker, fucking, you're more than likely only gonna have a positive outcome from it. Even in like,
unless you're sleeping with your ex.
Bring up the Bible. It's not even as a religious thing. It's as you know, the Bible teaches morals. So in the Bible it says, you know, a husband and wife, essentially is what it says. I'm probably misquoting the fuck.
The Bible is the true word of God.
Essentially, what it says is a fucking. I mean, beyond that, it just being a book of teachings. It says that a man and a woman, you know, husband and wife, should regularly have sex. And I think that's for a reason. I think these dudes they just get so fucking pent up, they go like years and years and years without having sex.
So your
35-year-old virgin, could you imagine that? 35 years. Well, not 35 because you are 35, but we'll call it 16 years of sexual frustration.
As you know, personally, because me and you go way back, we've been best friends for a long time.
Yeah.
I have been rejected by many women.
Yeah, of course, you suck.
More women than have accepted me have rejected me in that aspect of, getting intimate, whatever. So, but I've never resorted. Like, the longest span I ever went was over 2 years without any kind of physical contact, but I never resorted to that kind of, let me lick your boots. Let you photograph me masturbating.
That's an emotional thing.
But
that's an emotional thing. So I read an article on that. And basically the domination, the being a sub, the cuckolding, all of that it's a form of self-harm. It's like cutting yourself to these people.
So you get the same pleasure, because I personally have a lot of introspective thoughts on that. And so what you're saying is, when somebody cuts themselves, it's because they want the pain they can control, right? Everything in their life hurts. They want that one thing that hurts that they can control, whether or not it hurts. So you're equating, which makes perfect sense, man. Makes perfect sense. You're equating that same type of depression to another, which would make perfect sense.
Right. So you're causing a self-harm, and you're getting pleasure from the pain. It's the hypersexuality. It's the loneliness. People aren't meant to be alone either. That's why there's civilization. If you think of like anybody that's like, you hear stories of people like, so there's World War II ended, and there was, I don't remember if it was a Japanese soldier or an American soldier, but in the South Pacific, they had gotten stranded there basically. Like fucking 25 years later, this dude's taking fucking pot shots into a busy city because he thinks World War II is still going on.
Well, he has no idea.
And they get him, but he's absolutely insane. He's had no human interaction for fucking 20. I think this happened in like the 70s, or I believe. I don't know. You probably look. Yeah.
I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I know the story you're talking about. And it wasn't. It was Vietnam.
Oh, was it Vietnam?
I'm fairly certain.
There was a soldier that popped out of the woods and started taking pot shots in the city because he thought the war was still going on.
Yeah, I remember that story.
It was fucking totally insane.
And I believe it was Vietnam where he was left. Now, I could be wrong, but I do think I know the story you're talking about.
Yeah, the point,
a soldier in the Vietnam War.
Point remains, though, is that the human mind is a fragile thing. It's a very powerful thing, but it's a very fragile thing at the same time.
Well, that's the very reason it's fragile, is because of how powerful it actually is. Like, most people don't tap 10% of their brain capacity. And, I wouldn't say that these people who make these cringy statements are stupid. I wouldn't say that. Some of them could be incredibly intelligent people that just have a weird side.
I mean, I don't know, dude. I would call him.
I mean, look at a guy like Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen, you can look this up, has a very high IQ. Very high. The guy is incredibly able to learn. Okay, he's a smart guy. I won't call him intelligent because I know who Charlie Sheen is.
Well, yeah, IQ, we talked about this before. It has nothing to do with your intelligence. It's just your capacity to learn at the time that you take that test. So you could take that test 50 times in your life and more than likely get 50 different fucking answers.
Really?
That's what I believe is your IQ is your capacity to learn at that given moment. But imagine the human mind. Do you think that your capacity to learn is always the same, or that it grows or shrinks depending on where your mind is? It can definitely grow. I think
you're
it can
absolutely
definitely be diminished too. I think that your IQ is nothing. It's fucking stupid.
Well,
It's the dumbest
I wouldn't
stuff.
say it's nothing.
It's just like this. It's your capacity to learn. The only thing I would be interested in is learning more and growing that. But I mean, that's the only purpose I could see for an IQ test is to see where I'm at mentally. Other than that, just as a measurement of intelligence, that's ridiculous.
But my point with that was, which I would have gotten to. My point with that was that these incredibly smart people spend their entire lives learning how to do their job, right? I mean, Portia may be able to speak on this. Most of these people are incredibly successful men who have spent their entire building and have not spent much else doing otherwise. Right?
Okay.
So when you have all this money, you've built this enterprise, you've built whatever your career, whatever it may be, and you have all this money, but you've spent all of that time and energy on building your career, you don't have the time and energy to talk to women and to build relationships. So you go out of your way.
It's on a woman's end, too. There was you ever see the show Smallville?
I have. I love that show.
Yeah. So the show Smallville. You remember the blonde-haired chick there that was fucking Clark Kent's buddy? Yeah, the blonde-haired chick. She was in the first bunch of seasons.
Yeah. I forget her name, but she was like
I don't remember her name either. But
yeah.
That actress was arrested for being involved in a sex cult and getting she was basically a recruiter for the sex cult.
So she was Ghislaine Maxwell on a smaller level.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's the blonde-haired chick from. I don't remember her name, but.
So does
you got that?
Does that explanation right there? You're saying there's high-powered people involved. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't make it okay, right? These cringy-ass people. These cringy-ass dudes, I mean, despite your many, I don't know, whoever, in generic, your many mental incapacities, you come off to a woman about licking boots. I'm sorry.
I know about knocking boots.
I know all about knocking boots. But I'm going to tell you.
Knocking boots. I don't know about licking boots.
Like, what justifies it, right? There's nothing that justifies it, is my point.
I'm gonna keep.
You could have a shitty life. I've had a shitty life. My mother got hit by a drunk driver when I was 5. I grew up without a mother. I'm not out raping kids, right? I've had a traumatic life. I'm not out sending these creepy messages. So what brings a man, a full-grown man, to come to that? To come to that kind of, like you were saying earlier with your screenshots, with that endless paragraphs. Right? I've had a traumatic life. I've never thought about that. I've never devolved to that. So what brings a person to that? They have to be born that way.
What was that, Zach?
Right, Portia?
Allison Mack.
You
have to look that up for the actress Smallville.
I mean, psychologically, even taking psychology, courses in college, 9 times out, no matter what a person's been through, they know right from wrong. So if you have somebody who doesn't even know the difference between what's appropriate and what's not appropriate, despite their living conditions, that's a little bit concerning.
So it doesn't excuse it. You agree with me. It does not excuse it.
No, because I think at every point in every person's life, they've seen the difference between what's right and what's wrong. So, I don't really know if I have any type of argument for a person who tends to be very cringy, because again, it makes you wonder, like, where did this even come from? Like, why do you even think that this is okay?
Exactly.
So at a certain point, a person's their mind just breaks, I think. I'm going to tell you a story.
Oh, lay it on me.
It's a particularly scary story because it's a true story.
I turn off the light and light a candle? Tell me the story.
No, I'm going to smoke my joint. I can tell you, though. So, once upon a time, in this very room, there was a man. There was a man. It was at a party here. There was a woman who was at a party here. And this fucking chick was insane. She was like whispering to me about how the guitar was speaking to her. She was like whispering this directly into my ear.
Guitar?
Like I threw some typo negative on, and she like starts freaking the fuck out and was like, "This is a typo negative!" Fucking screaming at the top of her fucking lungs. No, the fucking band, dude.
Huh.
I put a song on by them, and she was like, freaking the fuck out because she's like just arguing with me that it wasn't this band. So I fall asleep. I wake up. Everyone's freaking the fuck out. Apparently, this man and this woman they were making out, and for whatever reason, this chick just decided to bite down on his tongue and just bite down harder and harder, and they went to the floor, and she fucking just
Why?
right off and fucking spit it out. I wake up and we're fucking figuring all this out. There's a pool of blood on the fucking floor. Me and my buddy, we go to leave. And he goes to get in my car. We're going to get breakfast for everybody and try and fucking go get my buddy something for his mouth. And fucking my buddy goes to open his coat in his car. Fucking there goes a chunk of tongue like that fucking big flies up on the dashboard.
Oh my god.
But this chick ends up getting sent. She ends up getting arrested and sent to a psych ward. And we find out later on she's wanted for like 2 arsons. Danger to the welfare of her children. There's some other shit, but she.
Oh, she has kids. That's great.
People just. Oh yeah, she's got kids. It's awesome. People like that procreate. Okay. So it's.
My dog's crashing the show.
I think people just break, dude. They just snap.
Well, I mean, even then. Go ahead, Portia. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I can. Like, I've known people who have just, like, cracked, you know? Like, it could be some breakup or a job loss or just something that would seem insignificant to me or maybe to you or, you know, because everybody's levels of perception are different. But I've watched people, like, literally just freaking lose. And then, what the hell? It just happened.
So are you saying that losing it is a justification?
Well, I think
no. People who have lost it, who have done terrible things, you know, like harassment and whatnot. So I don't think that it's okay, especially like we're all adults, man. Like, don't you think?
I think once you lose it, you're fucking lost it. How do you get that back? You are no longer self-aware at all. Most people aren't even self-aware a little bit.
Right.
You know?
But it also has to do with obedience too, you know?
Most people are only they're very little self-aware. You know, they understand their day-to-day functions, but they don't understand why they do things. They don't understand why they act the way they do or what had possibly caused that. They don't understand their own basic psychology. And so these people have completely fucking lost it. They're not even to day anymore. They're to fucking, who knows where the fuck their mind's at. You can't even, how do you
quantify it, right?
How do you talk to somebody and even know where their mind is at once they fucking snapped, you know?
Well, I imagine once a person snaps, that's the end of it. Right? There's no coming back from that. Once a person reaches that point to where they actually snap, whether it be violent, whether it be, you know, whatever it may be, there's a point every person reaches.
Do you think that people
beyond reproach?
Like, do you think that somebody could change? Like, do you think if somebody lost it, that term?
Well, me personally, I will admit right here on this live stream with no shame that I am a Christian and that I believe Jesus Christ died on the cross. So, with your question, yes, I believe someone can correct themselves.
I'm gonna say once you fucking lost it, at that point it's some sort of chemical imbalance. It's something in your brain that went wrong, and correcting it. I guess it'd be how far you really are gone, how far your brain has fucking melted, because that's what's happened. Is some sort of stress or trauma it's melted your brain like eating a fucking sheet of acid. You know, once you eat a sheet of acid and you think you're a cup of orange juice and you'll die if you tip over, that's it, dude. You're a fucking cup of orange juice.
But that's an extreme example. Like that's an extreme example of losing your mind. Yes, you're never going to come back from that, ever. But you can come back from a traumatic childhood. You can come back from a traumatic event, whether you were an adult.
That's what I'm saying is the people that have snapped. That's different than having a shitty child, you know, like a shitty life. Like a lot of people have shitty lives. We're all fucking poor. But it's different than just fucking one day you just wake up and everything's fucking different and you're fucking nuts, dude. There's so many people that walk around that fucking crazy. Zach, go through and pick out the next fucking craziest fucking thing you got on there for me. I know I got.
So what you're telling me is that a crazy person, a cringy dude who sends these creepy messages on Facebook cannot be redeemed.
No, I'm not saying that I don't think they can be redeemed. I don't think those are the people that have snapped. I think we're talking about three different kind of people here. We're talking about fucking lonely, weirdo, cringy dudes. We're talking about people that have just lost their fucking mind. And we're talking about people who have been, people who've just been traumatized. I think it's three different situations.
Okay, well let me ask you this. Let me ask you to clarify on your levels of trauma. Like, not to make myself the focal point, but I lost my mother. She's still alive technically. You know, but a drunk driver when I was 5 years old. Now I have no memories of my mother, none. I don't remember my mother at all. She was gone. She was in hospitals. She was being rehabilitated.
Yeah, I got you.
I did not officially meet my mother until I was 15 years old. Now, that is trauma. That is something I think about.
Yeah, but
constantly.
I think the sexual trauma is what.
But would you not?
Here. I think it's completely different.
But how is it different? How is it a different trauma? Like, how is me losing my mother different than, you know, all respect due to those victims, somebody who was raped as a child? I'm not trying to compare or equate our misfortune, but at what point does it justify it? And that's my biggest thing. Like with these cringy dudes who send terrible messages, at what point does it justify it? Is it never justified? Which I personally believe.
No, it's never justified. I think that's why we're talking about it right now. Like, fuck you guys for doing shit. Yeah. Like, I hope anybody who's ever sent some stupid shit like that.
Okay, well let me tell you a quick story. Okay, let me tell you a quick story about something that happened to me. Getting back to the cringy dude. Yes, dude type of thing. Now, this may or may not have happened to me. There was a piano, you know, and I can play piano. I mean, decently. I'm not a great piano player, but I can play a few notes.
Yeah.
I can riff. James, you've seen it live. So I was sitting there playing a piano, and this dude comes and plays the bass notes, and we were playing beautiful music together. Mind you, I was just kind of riffing off of other songs I knew, but we were playing great music together, and this dude kept inching closer, and I couldn't figure it out, and the notes got higher and higher, and I never took notice to it until he grabbed my arm and kissed me. A man. I'm not gay, and I do not hate gay people at all.
Well, it's an unwanted advancement, dude. The next cringiest story that Zach just handed me was from a friend of mine's wife. And she had commented on my post about the same thing. She was at a Dead concert, and this dude was like trying to walk to the car, and he basically just like forcefully kissed her. I had a gay dude come up to me in a bar one night, and like it was Halloween, so I had this Vikings helmet on, and he just like grabbed the fucking horn and started jerking it off. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna knock your fucking teeth out.
Right.
You got the wrong one. Walk away. You get a warning.
Right. You get one. Everybody gets one, Peter.
One warning. it's
Spider-Man joke. Not everybody gets that.
I think part of it's our culture, our society, honestly.
Well, I mean, you can't blame society. You just can't. I mean, Portia can probably speak on this too. I mean, our society specifically is sex. That's the whole reason. Not the whole reason, but part of the reason Americans hated the Europeans was they were so prude. And Americans were so open. So willing to experiment. And you can look throughout history, America's always been the first to come out and experiment. So, I mean, where does it end, right? We keep experimenting. We keep pressing forward, as they say. Where does it end? Where does the acceptance end?
Well, as a parent and okay, so I was a child of sexual abuse, okay, and like drug addiction and seeing like so many really fucked up things in my life really quickly. I mean, my mom left my dad when I was 6, and I'm 34. So it was a long time ago. I don't have a lot of memories from that because of trauma. Sometimes your brain blocks it out. But just, I don't know, like my mom, like growing up, like my mom always said, like just because your dad was a piece of shit doesn't mean like every man's going to be that way. So I wasn't raised to like hate men. Although really messed up things happened to me as a kid, I never grew up with that instilled in my brain that fuck every dude, you know, they're all pieces of shit, this and that. So I think for me, going from a child to being a parent now, like I have 2 daughters now. And it's just monitoring. Like, luckily I'm in a position where I can closely monitor what they do all day, every day. Me growing up, for example, my mom was a single parent, no car, no college degree, just working just to get by. So a lot of times your parents not home a lot. So you don't have somebody like watching that you're watching or listening to your phone conversations or watching what friends you're hanging out with. Oh my God. Sorry, guys.
To me all the time. Do not feel
so I have broken that cycle that my mother was born into, and now I'm in a position I can close my children. And they're 7, and like they don't even know who like Cardi B is, for example. So then I have other friends who have different type of lifestyles, whether it's they work full time and their kids are in daycare, or with family members, parents, vice versa. And, you know, their kids are idolizing these people on TV because what do you think they're doing all day? They're watching TV because they don't have that access to somebody who's not only available, but emotionally available, and somebody who has a sense of morals between what's right and what's wrong. So it's interesting to see what happens between somebody being a child to becoming a parent. And for me, monitoring what my kids do keeps them safe and gives me peace of mind, knowing like, okay, I know exactly what my kids are doing when they're on the computer, or who they're talking to, how long they're on it, or what they can get on, what they can get on. And I think a lot of times these women deal with
but it doesn't justify it, correct?
No, I'm not saying that it justifies it at all.
It's not an excuse. It's an explanation of what happened. It's an old joke.
Well, yeah, but you still gotta. It is an explanation, but it's not It's not just an explanation, but it's a reason. I don't think it's an excuse. My boss used to fucking. I've had bosses tell me like, blah, 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 why are you late? And I tell them I'm late, and they're like, oh, that's a fucking excuse. And I tell them, no, it's not a fucking excuse. It's a fucking reason. So shut the fuck up. I'm here to fucking work. Let me get my tools, and I'm fucking going.
Amen, brother.
Or do you want me to fucking go
I've
home?
said that same thing
You know
100 times.
It's not a fucking reason. Shit happens, dude. You're fucking paying me to be here. You're making a lot more fucking money than me. I'm here to fucking work. Fuck off, man. And it's the same thing with this, man. It's not an excuse. It's a reason. And it's also a problem. And every fucking problem has, some sort of solution. So realistically, like, how do you fix something like that? How do you fix a fucking... It's a mental issue. It's a hypersexuality issue. I think part of it's just everybody just watches porn, man. Everybody's desensitized. Like fucking, our parents and grandparents were jerking off to like fucking Victoria's Secret magazines or whatever bikini pictures.
Scandalous.
Whatever they can find.
Well, I will say this.
At 16 years old, I could watch I could go watch a chick take fucking 50 money shots in a row. It's like. So it's a
for free of charge too.
For free, right on the internet. It's a huge difference, man. Huge difference.
What I would say about that specific issue is it all boils down to there not being fathers in the home. Now you could say, oh, how does that make sense? And I'm going to tell you exactly how, especially with young girls. Young girls that grow up without a father continuously search for their father. So they will look everywhere they can to find that daddy figure. Now, you flip it on the other side. Entirely, when a woman has a great... That I can't explain, and that I don't know. But I will explain it on the other side. That women who are in those porn videos, who do these crazy things, I almost guarantee you 9 times out of 10 they did not have a father in the household. That's what it boils down to. I mean, you look at FDR when he, not to get political, when he said in the whole welfare program, where if a woman didn't have a father in the household, she could get much more money. So fathers were leaving homes. The mothers were raising their children, and you can't knock mothers. I don't know,
dude. I fucking was just reading the other day about this chick who's a porn star who is also a physicist. She went to college and became a physicist, but she would rather get fucked to make porn. You know why? Because porn pays her more money than she would make
right now. Porn pays her more money.
And for two, she just likes fucking having sex. So, she's a fucking, she went to college, she's a physicist, and she said, fuck this pays more. A lot. So that, I mean, if you...
But that's so short-sighted. How could somebody have a degree in something as complicated as physics and not understand future? Sure, porn is great. You can make a bunch of money for what? 10 years? Max?
Yeah, and then she could be a physicist.
She could just be a physicist? Do you really think there's not other physicists that have been working in their field for the last 10 years while she's been making porn videos? Which, by the way, I'd like to point out that I don't have a problem with. I don't see anything wrong with women or men or, whatever, doing porn. It's a job. You get paid. People purchase it. Perfectly fine.
Even prostitution, dude. It's all sex work is the oldest.
It's a job.
It's the oldest profession. Yeah. Some people can do to make money.
And if you do it right, you can be a prostitute and a productive member of society.
You think if prostitution was legal and all these weird dudes could just go pay for a prostitute and pay them to lick their, pay a prostitute to lick their boots and shit like that? Do you think that would like eliminate a lot of this?
I would say yes.
What do you think, Portia?
Can you repeat the question one more time? I'm sorry, you make me froze. Oh my god.
Oh no, you're good. we're figuring out our system for this still anyway, so it's all good. But so I was saying that if you legalize prostitution, do you think it would eliminate a lot of the issues? So these cringy weird dudes that don't get laid could legally go buy a prostitute. They could legally pay them to lick their boots and all that type of shit, and not have to just bother random strangers.
A lot safer. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if it's regulated. Like I believe in Las Vegas, they have to be a prostitute, I think you have to have like some sort of permit, and you have to be regularly
call it
tested.
Prostitution. That's how they get away with it, to make it legal.
I think you have to have like some sort of permit.
Which, if you look up the law, is entirely legal.
Right.
You don't
but
have
you can't,
to say
in other states you can't trade sex for. In other states you can't trade sex for. They got the Bunny Ranch in fucking Las Vegas. You just show up, pay for whatever. You pay. They're called escorts. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Like I was telling you,
they're still exchanging
if you're
money
an escort, it's entirely legal.
Favors. Yeah, but that would make it legal everywhere. Why did they get away with it in Las Vegas? And you got something for me on that? You don't know? You Google it for me.
Yeah, I can.
See why you can get away with prostitution in Las Vegas, because it's not all of Nevada, it's just Las Vegas.
It's not just, I was about to say that. It's not just Las Vegas. There's Atlantic City. There's plenty of other places.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I thought it was just Vegas.
It's pseudo,
which
just means it's not technically illegal, because all your job description is as an escort, correct me if I'm wrong, I maybe, is to meet up with a guy. Whether you sleep with him or not. What's that, Portia?
That's what I thought, is that they literally escort them to like parties or come dinners and stuff, like places like they would normally expect to date to, but maybe they don't have one.
Right.
I mean, that's what I thought it was. Like, maybe
so
that's
an entirely, to me, that's an entirely respectful profession. Whether you sleep with them or not is entirely beside the point.
Yeah.
If you do, you do. You're a free woman at work. If you sleep with, your client, if you will, so be it.
All right, check this out. So prostitution isn't, I'm going to read this part, is legal in some, like I said, there are health regulations that have to be followed. There's a license application and background checks. They're legal in Las Vegas. But it says just because prostitution can be legal in Nevada does not mean it is legal in all counties. Prostitution laws in Nevada come with a number of requirements which need to be met before it can be considered legal. It's only legal in licensed brothels, and condoms must be used. Prostitutes must be tested regularly for STIs, and only counties with a population fewer than 700,000 are legally allowed to have sex workers. This means that in popular tour locations like Las Vegas, prostitution is illegal since the population there exceeds 700,000. Other counties where prostitution is illegal includes Douglas County, Eureka County, and Pershing County. So the other counties, so I would imagine fucking Reno probably, where you could probably have prostitutes. I think that's why the Bunny Ranch is located outside of Las Vegas. It's not in Las Vegas. And it does say here that escorts are legal in Las Vegas. So if you did that everywhere, first of all, I mean, not that it's, the most glorified job, but neither is shoveling shit.
I was just about to say that.
Not, you know what I mean? So
a job's a job.
Essentially, if you legalize that, you would create just a ridiculous amount of jobs in every fucking state that any woman could do, single moms especially.
I don't think you would necessarily create jobs, because these women would inevitably be independent contractors.
No way, dude. It's like OnlyFans, man. A lot of chicks didn't want to be strippers, but they don't have to go to the club and get harassed by fucking nasty old dudes, so they can just go on OnlyFans and sell their fucking tits and pussy there. It's exactly what it is.
Yes.
Girls will eventually be like, women will see how much money other women are making off doing it, and they'll just fucking follow suit. And that will fucking create more and more of them. But I think it would help with a lot of this whole cringy fucking weirdo dude thing, because that's what it is. They need to get fucking laid. And I think a lot of that goes to I think a lot of that goes to the population.
The bottom line is like they need to get laid, and
well, do you think that would honestly? I mean, do you think that would honestly solve the problem? Like, say one of these cringy dudes actually got one of these women, actually got them to their house, naked, all that stuff, got it done. Do you think that would stop them?
No.
I mean, who's to say? Like we talked about before, part of it's just mental health.
Based on first-hand experience, no. Like, I've dated guys like that who, like, okay, so, like, we'll be talking, and I'm like, oh, you know, he seems like he's kind of weird, but, like, I don't know, like, you try to give people a chance, you know? Like, it's like, you don't know this person, like, give the guy a chance. And, yeah, creepy dudes can do that. Like, they can get into your life and get into your house, and then once that happens, like, it just gets weirder and weirder and weirder and weirder. And I think it's because, bottom line, it's the opportunities that they're given to be creepy. So, for example, like now, based on my firsthand knowledge, if something doesn't feel right to me, I'm just like, okay, like, I don't know you. I've never met you before. I don't owe you anything. I'm just going to, like, block you or, like, turn off the notifications and not respond to that. And then, like, they just move on to the next girl. And sometimes they have luck and sometimes they don't. But I think despite how many times they get turned down, that it's not going to stop them, no.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of examples of this. I've seen a lot of examples of, like, a girl will post their screenshots on Facebook. Like, they'll post this dude's screenshots, they'll talk their shit, and then there'll be, like, 20 other girls underneath it, like, yeah, that guy's fucking weird. Yeah, he's been in my inbox for years. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. More screenshots. It's like, like, why? Yeah. You know this is bound to happen, man. Why would you do that?
You know, and I think it goes to just, like, their mental state. Like, Amen. We don't know where their mind is.
It's really crazy to think about.
You don't know.
There's a dude running around out there just cutting girls' hair off and keeping it.
Right. Yeah, like did she like?
I mean, that's incredibly creepy.
Or like, how did she handle that?
She was just shocked. She asked him why, and then it got even weirder, and she was just like in shock, you know.
I would like to know if that's illegal.
That? Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it's illegal. It's probably some sort of assault.
But honestly, there's a lot of things you'd be surprised aren't illegal. So, is it illegal to go on a date with a woman, and cut a lock of her hair off?
Yeah, probably.
Is there a crime involved? Or is that just creepy?
It's weird. It's just weird. That's not illegal. Like, if I were to call the cops, like, say that happened to me and I were to call the police, they would be like, unfortunately, we can't make somebody not want to cut a lock.
Fucking
you know?
I would ask, how is that not assault?
He's a serial hairstylist.
But how is that not, like, assault, right? Like, how is that not akin to sexual assault?
It's gotta be an assault. I don't know about sexual. I don't think they can tie it to anything sexual, but I think it's definitely
right. And I think like, say the person this happened to went downtown to court like the next day and told them what happened, I'm sure she would get like a full stay away order from this guy, and they probably would have checked maybe assault 1. You know, like something that shouldn't. But I mean, it's not like the guy punched her in the face, which they shouldn't be doing either. But the way the court system works, especially, like, I've had to deal with it too, and they are very lenient. And it seems like things that guys, like creepy guys especially, can do would sound illegal to you, but they're not. They're not. And they don't care about it.
All right, we're back. So, yeah, would you call the police if that was you? Like, if fucking somebody just snipped some of your hair off, or?
I don't think so, because I've called the police many times for harassment or like assault, and either they come the next day, like 24 hours later, they don't even answer your call right away, or if they do come right away, they just kind of disregard everything. Like, unless you're being physically harmed, like somebody punches you in the face, like that's what they consider physical harm, not cutting a piece of hair off.
But why not?
I also think that's a reason why guys can tend to be cringy and creepy, because even if you do try to get law enforcement involved, unless there's any physical harm or any physical threat, more than likely they're not going to do anything.
But I would like to ask is, how is like forcibly cutting someone's hair not physical assault?
Because based on the physical assault I've dealt with personally, like firsthand, nothing got done. So why would I the police is going, you know what I mean? Like,
we live in a very patriarchal society. Not that that's a bad thing or wrong, but we do. So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Portia, but almost every officer that responds to an incident will be a male. Correct?
Yep, you're exactly right.
So a male will look at another male coming onto a woman sexually as a thing that just happens.
I'm just going to go ahead and say this. I think that we definitely need more women in uniform, for sure.
I've done a lot of research on this, James, and I can tell you why. At least a consensus, if you will, on why there aren't more women police officers. And the studies I've read say that the reason women won't become police officers is because most women are disregarded, regardless of whether they have a badge or not. Now, you know, I'm on the right side. I don't believe that systemic sexism and all that, but I will say that a man, as me, say I'm drunk, say I will use me as an example, and a woman police officer comes in to crash the party, I am less inclined to obey her orders than I am whether a male comes in to crash the party. That's just something I have to deal with, and that's my preconceived notions that women are less authoritative, would be the best word to describe it. A woman comes into a party and says, everybody leave. Most of the men are going to laugh at her, and that's just a fact. Am I wrong, Portia?
No.
Right. A man comes into male police officer comes into a party and says, it's over, everybody scatters. Correct? So we have to explore the dynamic of that. When Portia calls the police and say, hey, not that you have explicitly, but someone like you calls the police and says, hey, this man cut my hair and I don't know why, and the police do nothing about it, to me that screams assault. It screams it. It says this man committed a crime and needs to be jailed. End of story.
It's pretty weird, dude. It's definitely, I don't know, if I feel like if I call the police in any situation, because say I called the police as a man and tried to report a rape or some sort of assault on myself by a female, they're probably gonna laugh at me, like you said. It's mostly a male officer. A male officer shows up. If it's a female officer that shows up, it's a different story. I'll tell you that firsthand. But when a male officer shows up and it's like, oh yeah, you got assaulted by a woman, and kind of laugh at you, like, yeah, dude, I did get fucking assaulted by a woman, like she fucking smashed a liquor bottle over my head or whatever the fuck she did. Like, are you kidding me? I'm fucking. So I think you're right.
I mean, that's what it boils down to, is cultural differences. Now, I'm not saying black, white. I'm not talking about race. I'm talking about gender specifically. Cultural differences do define how police or men in general, whether or not it's a crime or just a cringy dude, how they come across, I almost feel it should be illegal. Like, how do you draw the line? Like, let me ask Portia directly. If I were to come at you, say me, and I met you on Facebook, just to use me as an example,
Okay.
If I were to come at you and say something like, hey, I'd love to see you naked, do you feel assaulted?
Yeah, because you don't know me. Like, why would you say that?
So
Right,
let me ask you.
that's
Let me
why-
ask you like this: if I was a friend of yours, we went to high school together, we know each other, we know who each other are, and I were to send you a message to say, "Hey, I'd love to see you naked," how would you respond to that?
You raise a good point. And for me, I think like if I knew the person and had like some type of rapport with them, maybe like some interest like could have developed between the time we met to the time they said, "Hey, I want to see you naked." Depending
It's a fine
on,
line, is it not?
I think a lot of it depends on if you're attracted to the person too. Like if I'm not attracted to you, I'm probably gonna be like,
So how is a guy to know whether or not you're attracted to him without initially approaching you?
Well, because when you initially approach them, you don't fucking show them your cock.
Amen.
Yes.
Yes, to get into it, yeah, you don't do that.
You don't
I
fucking
don't- I-
walk up
I don't
and
think
shake dicks to say hello. Hey, how you fucking doing? You shake your fucking
Right.
cock. That's not how it works. You know? It's,
So is social media the problem, or is the male the problem?
I don't think it's. I think social media may make it a bit easier than it was before. But like I've had creepy men approach me since I was in elementary school, and that
Yeah.
was before
Just
like
sure.
the internet and you know just the technology we have now. I think just people have a bigger platform to talk about it, and it makes it more known than maybe before we had like Facebook or MySpace or even like chat rooms, for example.
So, in your
well,
opinion,
that's the whole thing with the Me. That's the whole thing with the Me Too movement, though. Basically, fucking Ronan Farrow himself started with his. He wanted to investigate Harvey Weinstein. They said no. He said, "Well, then I quit," and he just investigated the guy himself. And he banned these women together, and they started the Me Too movement, and they took down Harvey Weinstein, one of the biggest sexual predators in Hollywood.
that we
And
know.
they that really just with that and Epstein and everything else is just tumbled into everything on Facebook is save our children, posts about fucking cringy ass dudes, which is a big reason for me doing this right now.
I know you said no politics on the prior call, but I mean, how could someone
prefer no
look at Joe Biden, who is clearly
He's a fucking kid sniffer, dude. You see him sniffing kids. Everybody
look
sees him
at
sniffing
Donald-
kids. You can't
look at a
ignore
guy like
that.
Trump,
You
whose
support
entire
Biden
life
and
has been based on getting women.
Just because you don't want Trump to win. And I get the Trump thing with the grab him by the pussy. I get that too. The locker room talk. I understand it. I don't.
But James, me and you have had many discussions that would be akin to the conversation that nailed Trump that grab him by the pussy.
For sure, dude. I know fucking lots of dudes and lots of crazy stories of fucking lots of just
Is that
terrible
wrong?
conversations, man. No, I think
Is
it's
that
I
wrong?
think it's a normal thing
Is it
among
wrong
men.
to
man.
look
It
at a
goes
woman
back to
and
being-
say, "Hell
it goes
yeah,
back
she's
to
hot"?
it goes back to being 16 in the locker room at football practice. You
I
know,
remember those days.
it's fucking. There's weird shit going down in there. You know, fucking
Teenagers showering together. Nothing
Yeah.
can go wrong.
talking about fucking pussy. Fucking it's. It's
Dude,
a
I
cultural thing,
have
man. It's been
distinct
like
memories
that for
We're
generations.
talking about girls who are. Go ahead. I'm
think
sorry.
it's grown though.
But I was gonna say I have distinct
out
memories.
of control, like a cancer or a virus or something. I think it's just to this point where it's just crazy. So now everything, so we live in this cancel culture, so everything like that is just condemned right off the bat. You know what I mean? Like
And
even
it's
comedians make these fucking jokes, all the comedians that make, sexual jokes and shit like that, they're like, people are like, oh, you can't say that. Like, I can say whatever the fuck I want, man.
First
Like,
Amendment. First one.
I think it's I don't know. It's always been a part of society. When it's grown to this point where it's a lot of shit that should have been recognized decades ago is being recognized, and that's great. But that doesn't mean every little bit of shit like that is terrible and disgusting. And men have been like that since men have existed.
Amen. Yeah.
Fucking cavemen would club him over the fucking head and drag him back to the cave. Like, that's just, it's fucking, that's how, it's like I talk about with primal instincts a lot. A lot of shit, I think some people resort more to their primal instincts than other people, and that's why they act so hyper intensive.
Possibly they resort to their lower, evolutionary instincts.
Right.
But like, I mean, you brought up cavemen. I mean, if I were to take a club and knock Portia here in the head and bring her back to my cave, that's a problem. Correct?
Well, now, yeah, definitely.
No, hold on. I would like to say...
So maybe it's society evolving.
I would say it was a problem then as well.
Well, I mean, there was no real society.
Society has evolved and just developed, like, I'm not saying that like that's right at all. But who's to say, like, what type of example did they have, though, to compare it to?
Exactly. It's all about context, correct?
Well, the whole point is for society to evolve. And if you go back through history, sexual crimes were worse and worse and worse and worse the farther you go back in history. So maybe this is a form of, like, society evolving with the Me Too movement and be done with the locker room talk and the fucking grab him by the pussy and that old school man's way of thinking and women's way of thinking, because I know women sit around and they talk about fucking guys' dick sizes and fucking am I wrong?
No.
Am I wrong? So it's not just a man's world.
But regardless, we can all agree here, and I'll have you know I am a Trump supporter. I'm on the right side of the spectrum, but we can all agree that is wrong.
Well, yeah, dude.
That aspect of society that you're speaking about. No, I don't think it's wrong for men to chase women. I think that's entirely normal for men to be hypersexual, for men to want to go after women. There's nothing wrong with that. For them to say slightly creepy things. I mean, Portia, correct me if I'm wrong.
Life's all about.
Well, Portia, correct me if I'm wrong, but there has to be some kind of quirky, weird line that has intrigued you, that has brought you in. That, say a guy messaged you saying something like, hey, I like the way your eyes sparkle, or something corny like that. You respond to it, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So you have to draw the line between men seeking women from men exploiting women. Right?
Yeah.
Like a man could come on to a woman.
It's hard to say, though, man. It's hard. So just for like the whole purpose of the show, I was skimming through Hulu the other night, and I saw this old show called Who the Fuck Did I Marry? And there was one of the episodes was this guy. He was in the military. He had gotten into contact with this chick he knew from high school, was telling her how much he always loved her, blah, blah, blah. They went out for dinner, and, they ended up dating, and they ended up getting married, and then she, starts finding condoms around. They're married. They don't use condoms. And then she started to, she went through his phone, sees all these other text messages and shit like that, and, he apologizes, and they work it out, and they go a little longer, and then she finds these papers in his glove box that says he has HIV and herpes, and he never told her, and it dates back 6 years, and they had gotten together 4 years before that. And then he gets investigated by the military police. He ends up serving like 14 years in military prison, which is no fucking joke. But this dude had he had like relations with 7 other women and just spreading HIV and herpes around. Luckily, so far, they've all tested negative, but that's just fucking insane to think about. It could be anybody that's weird like that with the best intentions, and that's why I think women are so careful now, dude. I think it's just there's a lot of fucking scumbags out there.
I would like to bring up a specific point on exactly what you just said. You said women now are more careful. If you look at the 80s, and I've done a lot of research on this, if you look at the 80s, women were very whorish. I'm just going to say it. They were very liberal, right? They would go out and have sex with whoever all the time, no matter what. It didn't matter. Let's just have fun. Let's just fuck. That was the mentality. Now you get into the 90s and the HIV scare and all of that stuff, and all of the sudden, women were less receptive to men. And you can look this up. It's history. I mean, Portia's quite young, but maybe she can speak on it. Women are much more, like you just said, scared, not careful, not, cautious. They're scared, right? You can't just get with a guy because you may end up with herpes. You can't just get with a guy because you may end up pregnant. I mean, it's all this new stuff. And Portia, will you please speak on that and tell me if I'm dead off or if I'm close to the point?
No, I don't think you're dead off at all, honestly. But yeah, I mean, there is a lot of fear there. There's fear of getting STDs, STIs, pregnant, or even if you choose to and you don't get any physical repercussions from it. Now you got this guy who may think that you're interested, or may tell everybody about you, or yeah, this girl's easy because I chilled with her once and we had sex, or we did sexual things together. So yeah, there's always that fear of your privacy and also your physical well-being. And in my experience, I don't know if men feel the same types of repercussions from that as women do.
I can assure you they don't.
Yeah. So.
Absolutely.
No, especially with social media now. Especially with social media, the fact that something like that could just get spread. If some chick sends you a picture of her tits, you could send it. I have fucking 1,600 or 1,700 friends on Facebook, dude. Some one chick sends me a picture of her tits. I could go and send that to fucking, 1,700 fucking people across states and counties and cities, and so I mean, I think it's
a reasonable fear.
It's definitely a reasonable fear.
So does that now the point I was trying to bring it around to, does that take away from guys like me and you, who legitly either we want just pussy, which is entirely normal, entirely a thing. Sometimes women just want some dick.
I don't really like getting all fucking personal on the show, but as far as it goes, when it comes to that, man, I try and always be upfront. Listen, this is just sex or whatever it is, this is just sex, this is just friendship, this is just, or I want to date you or whatever it is. I try and always be upfront about that. It makes it way easier because if it's just sex, then it's just sex. Who gives a fuck, Yeah. And then nobody's fucking feelings get hurt, or maybe somebody's feelings get hurt. I don't know.
It's never just sex, James. I mean, even if a girl were to say, "Oh, yeah, I agree, it's just sex," trust me, it's not.
I disagree.
To that woman, to that person, it's not. It never is.
What about one-night stands, dude?
Well, one-night stands. Have you ever met a woman who's happy with a one-night stand, who's happy with her life? You can meet plenty of women who have one-night stands who are happy, but they're not happy with their life. No, I can't speak on that because I am a male. I am. But it seems to me that, from my experience, most women who have continuous one-night stands are not happy. I may be wrong. I may be dead off. I may be. But
know, dude, a lot of these, who cares? I mean, like, if a chick,
who does care?
Chick's 20 years, if a chick's 20 years old, 21 years, if a chick's 21, 22, out of the bar, leaves with the dude, sleeps with him for the night, and then the next day goes home or wakes up and fucking just goes about her day, goes to her college classes, whatever the fuck she's doing. Now, why is she not happy with her life?
Hey. Yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that particular woman in your story isn't. What I'm saying is, from my experience, I don't want to sound like I'm some Mac Daddy, because I assure you I'm not. But, most of the women I've been with, one-night stand-wise, and I've only had 3 one-night stands in my life, not one time
it's an impressive number.
Has that girl been happy with herself. Most of the time, it was some party chick who just was trying to cloud some pain.
That goes back to the trauma that we were talking about
in the very beginning of the show. Yeah, it does. So it's all this weirdly interconnected way of living.
Well, it's a mental health issue. Why is there such a big mental health issue?
But is it actually a mental health issue or just biology? Is my point.
I think it's a mental health issue. I think it's passed down. The people that are traumatized, the victims normally turn into the assaultees, and it just becomes a fucking giant loop in the system, and history repeats itself all the way down the line, and you get more and more and more of it, and there's more and more people, so you're going to see the numbers just dramatically rise throughout the years.
Not to mention the underreported cases. The cases that aren't reported.
Well, I mean,
but
I don't think a lot of girls want to report it, dude.
But the whole point being, where do we draw the line? When does it become cringy? Right? Because dudes are dudes, and Portia will agree with me. I hope. Dudes are dudes. They go after women. Right, Portia?
Well, of course. I think that's biological. Right. I think that's just
why would a woman not want to report something like that? I know. I understand why most of the men watching the show
Joe
will understand
why. Who is a child rapist? Vote.
I think it's the process too. Like, it's just like, as a woman, like, when you call the police, it tends to be like very demeaning, and you pretty much get talked to like you're not telling the truth. Men do answer these calls, and that makes it even more awkward, because it's like, I'm a woman, like, telling a man, like, another man assaulted me or is harassing me. And a lot of times, like, in the past, like, I've gotten eye rolls from police officers, like, oh, well, are you sure this just isn't a messy breakup? Or are you sure you didn't say something wrong? Like, did you...
They try to pass it on to you.
Yeah,
exactly.
They make you...
Like, you have done something wrong by being an attractive woman.
Yeah, you must have done something wrong for this person to be behaving the way that they are. And...
I will stand and say that
it's been unprovoked. It's just been, for me, it's been setting a boundary. Like, okay, like, you're being creepy, or like, you're being abusive, or you're scaring me, or you're making me feel uncomfortable. And then you call the cops because it doesn't stop. And there's really nothing they can do about it. Or at least they tell you there's nothing they can do about it.
Well, there's absolutely something they can do about it. But I'm not here to talk about the police. What I'm saying is that the bottom line being is that there is gender specific qualities, and one of those gender specific qualities is that men chase women. Women don't typically chase men, am I right? Women wait. They want to see which man is interested in them.
Right.
And I'm not excusing men. Wow.
Oh no, dude, that's right. I think society is evolving, man. I've had plenty of women approach me. Plenty of women approach me. I've definitely seen it more and more and more, where a woman will randomly message me or buy me a drink at the bar. I've had nights at the bar where I've had women just buy me drinks all fucking night, and I don't pay for a drink. You know what I mean?
I've slept with women who have bought me drinks at the bar.
I think it's a part that I think that's changing.
So my point being is that, thank you, is that wrong? No, it's not. End of story. It's not wrong. When does it become wrong?
It becomes wrong when it's an unwanted advance.
But hold on, how many times?
Or
okay,
when it mentally or physically hurts somebody.
Okay. Well, Portia, help me out on this. Okay. I would like to know, how is it wrong to be denied? Like, how is it wrong to approach a woman sexually at a bar and say, hey, however smooth you are, whatever lines you use, when does it become cringy? When does it become creepy? Tell me.
I think the moment you feel that it's unwarranted, like, for example, like when I've been approached out, whether it's by men or women, I think that it has a lot to do with social cues too. Like if you, for example, came up to me and said something like, oh, hey, I think you're really beautiful, I want to sleep with you. For me, that would be an unwarranted comment because I'm not doing anything. I'm sitting at the bar, minding my business, and now you're coming up to me talking about sex rather than, hi, my name's so-and-so, it's nice to meet you. However,
what do you expect a man to say to you at the bar? Like, how would be an appropriate way for a man to approach you, right? Because men look at a woman and they... Right. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Answer my question. Yeah.
Walk up and introduce yourself. To me, that's perfectly acceptable. To walk up to me, not even knowing me, you have no idea who I am, you've never seen me before, but just approaching me and saying, hi, my name is so-and-so. How are you doing tonight? For me, I'm not going to see that as creepy.
Honestly, that's the best approach. That is definitely the best approach. I could tell you that. The second best approach that I found is I buy him a drink, from down the bar or across whatever. I buy him a drink. The bartender tells him, that guy bought you a drink, blah, 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 blah. And if they're interested, they'll walk up to me. If they're not, then I fuck off. You know what I mean? Like, I've gone to dude, I went up to a table. I was out in Syracuse doing this big masonry job one time. And I had these dudes with me, and they were too scared to walk up to this table full of girls. So I was like, all right, listen, I'm going to walk up. You guys, I'll give you guys a nod and fucking, not to, pro tip here. But so I'm going to walk up and give you guys the nod. I'll let you know when it's cool to come over and fucking, so... And I've done this so many times, and they always fuck it up. I did it in Albany, too. My buddy comes up to me, and he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, what? Why the fuck are you talking to me? You come up and you talk to me? No, you come up and talk to one of the women. What the fuck are you doing, dude? I'm sitting here at the table full of women. You come up and talk to me.
So when does, my main point this whole show has been, when does it become creepy?
Like I said, it's unwanted or physically or mentally harming.
So you're saying once the woman says she's not interested,
No, she doesn't even have to say it.
Like sometimes women doesn't even say that they're not interested. Sometimes they just block the person and just don't even respond. So how do you know that you were creepy to begin with if you never hear anything back?
Yeah, it's been my point, right? Like some men know they're creepy. Some men know when they send these messages about licking boots that they're being creepy and they like it. So, I mean, they're gonna find that woman that's into that wants them to lick their boots. They're gonna find that, right?
Yeah, but that's what I was talking about earlier. Let that be a thing. Let them go find that and fucking.
So
Let's be more fucking free than we are. Let people pay for that.
Yeah, I guess ultimately it's just and
Let them do it.
Sounds so creepy. I guess it's about trial and error because it may work with some people and it may not work for others. So
there's a mental health aspect that needs to be looked at too. I mean, none of us are experts on that, but there's definitely. I mean, I don't think anybody's really an expert on fucking mental health because we understand less about the human mind than we do space, and we know more about the ocean. We understand less about the human mind than we do the ocean, and we know more about space than we do the fucking ocean. The human mind's in our own head, so. Mental health experts is a bunch of fucking speculation.
Is what it is.
It's a bunch of speculation.
Really. It's malarkey because you can't possibly know what a person thinks or how they process thoughts.
Psychology is a guessing game for a reason. I think you have to just take control of that yourself.
Right. I think it's a level of self-knowledge and maturity too. It's like what you're willing to handle and what you're not willing to handle. And
like it's like I talk about, sorry to cut you off. It's like I talk about all the time, being fucking self-aware, but we are running out of time. You mentioned earlier you're a photographer. If you wanted to talk about your business for a minute, like more into it, how to find it.
Okay. So I own and operate Porcia Jones Photography. I've been in business since 2015. I do all different types of photo shoots from weddings to editorial type of work to nature work, selling prints. So if anybody's looking to have pictures done, or even if they're looking for prints for sale to maybe vamp up your office or your home, feel free to check out my Facebook page, Porcia Jones Photography.
All right. And cringy dudes, just watch out because you're just going to get more.
Yeah.
You're going to get, they're going to get posted more and more and more. And like I told you, buddy, I'm going to make you famous. Hope you like my meme. I will catch you guys later. Thanks for coming on the show.
Of course.
All right, Zach.
Good night, guys.
Cut recording. Yeah. Good night, Portia. Thank you.
Bye.